I'm here. Can you all hear and see me? That's the first question on the YouTube. And then you missed all of my cool stuff. Oh, damn it. See, I had all this cool stuff lined up and you don't get to see it now. Maybe I can salvage this because this is so annoying. I'm sorry to my radio audience. I'm sorry. So on YouTube, can you all hear me? Am I going out on YouTube? That's the first question. And if so, you can see and hear me now. I have no damn clue what on earth happened. All right. Well, I'm going to try and fix the other problem because I was already 20 minutes into the show when you guys let me know that I could see the chat, but I went over and looked on my YouTube and I wasn't going out. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm so sorry, folks. Let's see. No, that's not. Nope. That's not what I want. I was trying to restore my tabs that I recently closed. And there's probably a quick, easy way of doing that, but damned if I know how to do it. Well, that's interesting. I didn't see that before. Is there a way of opening tabs that you recently closed? Is that a thing? Can you do that? I don't want to see all bookmarks. I want to see, and I need to move this because I'm down here where you guys can't see me. What did I do? Brenda is asking. I don't know what the hell happened. I was going on live and I was out on Radio X and Dare Talk Radio, and suddenly apparently I wasn't live on YouTube, and I don't know why. I didn't do anything different. So I'm trying to figure out if I could open up old tabs I had open. Well, you know what? We'll just make this up as we go. I know that one was one I had open. And then I know I had, let's see. I want to make sure that everybody gets the entire show that I had started. I had planned so hard for, but apparently not. It's just not, yeah. Denise, the only I go out live on my channel, the Glenn Sportcat Jackson, and go out on Harley's page, Joker Asylum, and then of course the main page. And I don't know. You all know that I'm not very technically, how do you say it, oriented. So, all right. Well, we're going to try all this again. Is the music still playing? No, the music's not playing. Hey, I know why I couldn't hear it. I had to shit turn down. Oh, good Lord. All right. Well, that problem I know the answer to. The other ones, damned if I know. Everybody, please go over and tell everybody where I was and where I am, and we'll figure it out from there. All right. So we're going to try and start over again. I lost some things, but we'll just make it up as we go. And no, things frustrate me. Okay, so let's start this all over again. Let's pretend nothing ever happened for the past 30 minutes. And I apologize to my Radio X and Dare Talk Radio audience for this. So for my internet radio people, you're going to hear this spiel again. We started off today with bright, fresh hopes of things being great and positive, and it just deteriorated. Okay, so updating you, I have a new start time, which is 2:00 on the East Coast. And Brenda, I will add yours if you'd like me to, not today. Hey, KG's even in there. I got Chris, I got Denise, I got Brenda, I got KG. I don't know. Yes, Chris, Lord Howe and Alice Springs heard everything. So you're going to notice some new looks, aside for the fact that I'm now on at 2:00 in the afternoon. And the reasoning I'm doing that is because I do a show over on the Thin Line Rock Station Mondays. Oh, good Lord. Tuesdays and Thursdays from noon till 2 on the East Coast. And They didn't tell me to. They just kindly asked if I could move this show so that I wasn't interfering with their show, because, as you know, we also go out live on Radio X in Australia and Dare Talk Radio. And they wanted to be able to give the listeners on the internet radio that don't want to come over and see YouTube, or perhaps when this stuff shits the bed and you can't see me, come over here. So it gives you more options to get more of me. Don't ask why. I don't know. I question every day why anybody pays attention to my little channel and my little stuff. I do appreciate all of you. I've been getting some coaching and training, and so you'll see some other changes. The most notable change is I've made a decision that I've weighed long and heavy, that I am going to be broadcasting on less networks because I felt constrained. It wasn't a personal thing. It was just that I felt like I couldn't give stories that I wanted to give time to the time that I felt they deserved, because I felt like I would be pressured from station managers. So we'll leave it at that. At any rate, no hard feelings. Everything's still good and peachy, and I'm still here. Now I need to figure out how to share this screen. You got the first 20 minutes in a crux there. How about that? Oh, what else is going to go wrong? I was telling everybody on the internet radio that I can't stand letting people know what goes on behind the scenes. It's just a pet peeve of mine, because I don't feel like it's fair to you guys. And so the first 20 minutes of my show, what the hell do I do? All right, let's push the right button there, Sportcat. Let's get this thing going now. 37 minutes into the show. I probably should text the station owners in Australia and make sure they're okay with me running a little over. Okay, 2:38 on the East Coast, and good morning still to our loyal listeners in Perth. 2:38, 4:38 in Australia. Adelaide, please at me because I deserve it. Go to 4:08 a.m. Lord Howe, it's now 5:08. So, I'm not sure why Chris is. I don't want to know. And Brenda says it's because I have balls. Well, I don't know if it's that. I just made a decision, and I decided to change some things.
No, for your information, I have full-size balls.
And that's just for you, Brenda. So you know I have full-size balls. So I'm sorry to my radio station listeners. I'm really sorry. All right, let's kick this off again. Let's start over. We're not going to go over everything. Today in history, well, we talked about some of that. If you were listening on the internet, if you weren't, well, then you just get this. So today in history, let's skip ahead to closer to our timeline. 1938, the Treaty of Munich is signed by Adolf Hitler, Mussolini, and Eduardo Daladier and Neville Chamberlain. It forced the Czechs to give territory to Germany. Chamberlain infamously declares peace for our time upon his return to London. 1946, two Nazi leaders, including Heinrich von Ribbentrop and Hermann Göring, are found guilty of war crimes, sentenced to death at the Nuremberg war trials. So, yeah, YouTube did. YouTube apparently, because I went and looked on my YouTube page, and apparently I have like 8 shows scheduled for no apparent reason. And there's only one of me. So I don't know. I don't get it. So, but because I was wondering when I was live, I was saying, why do I not have any viewers when I see right here on the right, I had some comments. So I don't know where those comments were. I don't know why it didn't go out on YouTube, but hey, it is what it is. All right, so continuing on, 1980, Ethernet specifications are published by Xerox in collaboration with Intel and the Digital Equipment Corporation. 1791, Mozart's opera, The Magic Flute, with German libretto, Emanuel Schellendayer, probably butchered that again, in Austria. Today in sports, 1934, his final game as a New York Yankee. The Babe goes 0 for 3. And we're going to skip famous birthdays. And Fran Drescher, we'll do celebrity birthdays. How about that? Fran Drescher, 68 today. Marion Cotillard, I don't know who she is. She's 50. Martina Hingis, 45. T-Pain is 41. Max Verstappen is 28. And Maddie Ziegler is 23. Fun fact about today. Well, shit didn't work. That's the fun fact. And Brenda this is one of the changes that you're going to be seeing. Man, the YouTube audience missed so much. One of the changes you're going to see is Brenda's going to occasionally join me on here. If I can get her to tell real news instead of that, other stuff she goes on about. So hopefully she'll be joining me occasionally. Hopefully she gets better. All right, fun fact about today. The Flintstones, the first animated sitcom created by Hanna-Barbera, premiered on ABC in 1960. Wow. And I just read that the Simpsons new movie will be released soon. So how far we've come. Famous weddings, actor and director in 1932, Ray Milland and Muriel Weber. In 1932, 2010, CSI Miami actor Eddie Cibrian divorces actress Brandi Glanville due to reconcilable differences after just 8 years. 1938, jazz musician Louis Armstrong divorced pianist Lily Armstrong after 14 years. In 1950, the first prime minister of Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew, weds lawyer Kai Wee Chu. Yeah, okay. You're going to at me. I know you are. Pete Rose. Oh, Pete Rose died on this day in 2024. James Dean in 1955. And let's see. We're just going to skip over that. And all right, let's go to the next calendar because we've already gotten through most of this one if you were on the radio. 1630, John Billington is hung. Is hanged? Hung. He's hung. That's, well, I don't know. That's we're going to go with hung with my 8th grade education. Yes, Denise. I'm trying. I'm trying really hard. John Billington, the first Englishman to be convicted of murder in America, is hung for his crime. Him and his family traveled to the New World on the Mayflower in 1620. They were troublemakers from the beginning. Were they kidding me? Billington was frequently punished for contempt, while his son fired a musket aboard the Mayflower ship before the ship even landed in Plymouth. His wife was once whipped for slander. In 1630, he shot and killed another colonist by the name of John Newcomb, a longtime enemy of his, and he was sentenced to death. In 1888, Jack the Ripper murders his 3rd and 4th victims. Elizabeth Spride and Catherine Eddowes, just after midnight in London's Whitechapel neighborhood, he slit Stride's throat, leading some to believe he was interrupted during the murder before he could carry out further mutilation. Brenda says, news I cannot see to read anything. I'm just going to give comments and laugh. Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Why can't you see, Brenda? So Eddowes was also found with a slit throat, but her killer had also ripped open her abdomen, removed her uterus, and carved up her face. The two women's murders have become known as the double event in Jack the Ripper lore. The famously uncaught killer would go on to murder just one more confirmed victim before his reign of terror ended. 1928, Elie Wiesel is born, author and Holocaust survivor, born in Romania. He wrote 57 books over his career, but he's perhaps known for the memoir of his life as a Jewish prisoner in Auschwitz concentration camps as a teenager. After World War II, he became a journalist and later moved to the United States, where he worked as a foreign correspondent for an Israeli newspaper and then as a professor at Boston University. He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1986 for his works as a messenger to mankind. 1955, James Dean died. American actor James Dean died in a car crash at just the age of 24. He was driving his Porsche 550 Spyder in California on his way to a scheduled road race The following day, around 3:30, he was ticketed for speeding. And 2 hours later, he slammed into the side of a vehicle that had turned in front of him, unable to stop in time to avoid the collision. He suffered fatal injuries, including a broken neck. His film Rebel Without a Cause was released less than a month after his death and cemented his spot as an American cultural icon. 1974, Stephen King checks in at the Stanley Hotel. While on vacation during a short residency in Boulder, Colorado, Stephen King and his wife Tabitha spent the night at the Stanley Hotel, inspiring the novel The Shining. The hotel was about to close for the season, and they were the only overnight guests in the entire building. The vast empty corridors and dining room proved terrifying for King, and that night he dreamed of his young son being chased through the halls by a supernatural force. He awoke from the nightmare, got up, lit a cigarette, and conceived the basic plot for his famous horror story by the time he had finished smoking. Why couldn't I do that? I am just, what's the correct? I got writer's cramp. Block. My book I'm working on, I've got like the first chapter and starting the second, and I don't know. 1999, the Tokimura nuclear incident. Workers at a uranium processing facility in Japan accidentally create a critical event, leads to the release of radiation, causing severe injuries to the workers and raising concern about nuclear safety. All right, we're going to go to what is today? Well, it's International Podcast Day. And hey, on International Podcast Day, shit goes wrong. September 30th, International Podcast Day. So maybe we should make it International YouTube Sucks Days. Blasphemy Day. Well, I've been doing that all morning at the YouTube. And I was telling my radio audience, I need all of my YouTube followers to come over and find the channel I am on, which is the Sportcat shows, or the Paranormal Guys with a Z, and subscribe, like, share, and all that. But one thing I'm learning through my coaching is if you watch the video and you think it's great, it doesn't help a whole lot. But if you go post show and just put in a comment in the show notes or in the show comments, great show sucked, how you doing, Sportcat, whatever, it helps push it out there. That's the newest thing I'm learning. It's extra virgin olive oil day, Fiesta de San Geronimo Day. It's a religious holiday. International Translation Day. Well, it's they like it so much they have two versions of it. National Chewing Gum Day. National Hot Mulled Cider Day. It's too warm for cider here on the East Coast. National Love People Day. Well, I love people some days. Some days. Brenda, you're on the list. Brenda writes, a ghost should have pushed him off the third floor. Well, yeah. And Jack woke Brenda up and told her it was Podcaster Day. And you didn't tell me, Brenda? I don't know. I may have to take this National Love People Day back. National Mud Pack Day. I've never had a mud pack. Oh, that could be taken so badly. National Puppy Mill Survivor Day. Nepal Ashitami Day. It's apparently a religious or a cultural day. Orange Shirt Day. If I'd only known, I would have worn an orange shirt. Pet Tricks Day. Ginger won't do any tricks. She just like, give me a treat and I want to go away. And it's the Thunderbirds Day. All right, so I'm not worried about all that stuff. We're gonna cut some corners today. Let's see. We talked about we didn't talk about that. We did not talk about National AI and Work Day. Well, that must be a new one. It was founded in 2025. Hey, wait a minute, that's today or this year. By LinkedIn. National AI in Workday. Well, so far, AI is not my friend today. It's Orange Shirt Day. Go Vols. National Love People Day. Hot Mulled Cider. It's too soon for cider. And National Chewing Gum Day. Let's see what birthdays it has here, because I'm pretty much over some of them. And we'll go ahead. William Wrigley Jr. from 1861 to 1932 was the founder of the Wrigley Corporation. Herbert Maxwell Strong, he was the inventor of the first synthesized diamonds. And Nora Staunton Blatch Barney, one of the first women to graduate with an engineering degree. Ann Jarvis, the co-founder of Mother's Day. Irving B. Kahn, inventor of the teleprompter. She should go to work at the UN. Angie Dickinson, still living, actress who starred in movies with John Wayne, Willie Nelson, James Arness, to name a few. I'm trying to think. Angie, didn't she do a private investigator show? John Lombardo, founding member of the alternative rock band 10,000 Maniacs. Barry Williams, actor recognized for his role as Greg Brady in the Brady Bunch. Fran Drescher, who could forget her? The maid Fran on the sitcom The Nanny. Marty Stewart, awarding country and bluegrass musician. Robbie Takak, bassist and lead singer for the Goo Goo Dolls. And let's see. In 1630, a Massachusetts village, Shawmut, changes its name to Boston. Okay, that's interesting. Thomas Edison in 1882, first commercialized hydroelectric power plant, Light Company, begins. 1877, the first amateur swim meet is held in New York City. 1880, astronomer Henry Draper takes the first ever photograph of the Orion Nebula. And in 1935, the Hoover Dam is dedicated. It's where they are hiding the Transformers. 1939, the first football game is televised on NBC. Well, which one was it? That's what I want to know. President Roosevelt declares U.S. Merchant Marine Academy Day in 1940. No, I'm sorry. He dedicates the first U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. We talked about James Dean being killed in a car crash in the Flintstones. I want to know what football game premiered on ABC. Or was it NBC? I don't know, which, let's see. Okay, well, apparently, well, all right. So it's talking about National 12s Day, and I had nothing to do with National 12s. I want to know about football. I want to know what football premiered today, but who cares? All right, we'll move on, because yesterday we talked about how bad the college games were. So we'll jump over to the old Farmers Almanac. Yeah, I feel really let down because I didn't get to give you guys the live sky. Did I even show that? I now totally lost my mind. The live sky website where you can see the different comments and all the stuff. It was really cool, but yeah, well, you missed it. I only did it for myself. It's 273rd day of 2025, 82 days until winter begins. Not in the South. Question of the day. Brenda, I can't seem to get my white cotton socks clean in the washer. Is there any way to whiten them without bleach? I'll let you answer that in a minute. Let's see. Well, no, we'll just answer it now. Let's see, because I'm totally thrown off today. Oh, here you go. Boil your socks in water with a slice of lemon. Stop. Just make sure they aren't too aromatic when you put them in water. Your kitchen will smell like a locker room. There you go. Brenda, will you boil my socks for me? I'm asking for a friend. Puzzle of the day. There is a thing that nothing is, and yet it has a name. 'Tis sometimes tall and sometimes short. It joins our walk. It joins our sports. And it plays at every game. What is being described? Any guesses? I'm going to go with the shadow. It's our shadow. It's probably some demon or something. No, I was right for a change. It was a shadow. All right. And word of the day, sun, fast, slow. What does it mean? Well, when a sundial reading is behind, slow, or ahead, fast, clock time. Can a sundial be slow or fast? I know our watches can. So Brenda says buy new ones. Yeah, well, fair. That's fair enough. All right. Let's go to what is the best day to do things today? All right. Well, Brenda, don't tell Jack, but it's the best day to castrate farm animals, cut firewood, cut hair to increase growth, dig holes, mow to increase growth. Potty train. It's the best day to potty train. Wax floors and wean. It's also the best day to bake. What are you weaning yourself from? What is the best day to wean from what? It doesn't say. All right. It's the best day to wean. I don't know what the hell that means, but what are you weaning from? Drugs? What do you... All right. All right. So we done talked about this. God, I can't even speak English today. I feel so bad. My show, I had such great hopes for today's show, and this just went. By the way, does my audio sound any clearer, louder, anything to you guys? Because I made a change. I couldn't hear it on YouTube, apparently. In 1947, Game 1 between the Dodgers and the Yankees was the first World Series to be broadcast on television. 2005, a Danish newspaper published a controversial cartoon depicting Islamic prophet Muhammad, sparking protests and riots around the world. How far we've come. Today's fact, James Dean starred in just 3 films, best known for his iconic role, Rebel Without a Cause. He was nominated after a death for an Academy Award for Best Actor for his leading role in East of Eden and Giant in 1957. In 1927, the Babe broke his own record for home runs in a season by hitting his 60th, setting a record that stood for 34 years. Today's quote, ultimately, the only power to which man should aspire is that to which he exercises over himself. That's good. That's good. What? The titty, Glenn. The titty. What the hell are you talking about, Brenda? Brenda puts in the chat, the titty, Glenn. The titty. I don't know what the hell she means. All right. Today's number, 108 million. It's the combined value of Seascape at Shivingen and Congregation Leaving Reformed Church Noonan. 2 paintings by Vincent van Gogh were stolen in the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam. The recovery was announced 14 years later on this day in 2016. And if you were listening, you learned that today was a waxing gibbonous moon. And then we had a nice, really cool graphic. And oh, there it is. Jesus Christ. All right. So for my YouTube audience, I've been following an astrophysicist. Burns is his last name, and he uses this website. It's called The Live Sky, and it's pretty cool because you can zoom out to see our entire solar system, or you can zoom in as close as you want. And the really cool thing is, if we look at Earth and put it on equal plane with us, we can see that 3I Atlas is headed right on a collision course to go behind the sun in about a month. And these two, which appeared out of nowhere, K1 Atlas and R2 C2025 appeared out of nowhere, and C2025A6. So we have 4, but the only one that is interstellar is 3I, and it is still destined to go behind the sun sometime around the end of October if the aliens don't get us first. I'm at this point, with the way YouTube's failing me, I'm going with aliens. So, but yeah, if you like this website, it's really cool. You can zoom in and zoom out. You can see, the course of the way things are going. You can look at the way the sun and the earth interact. It's really cool. It has a lot of powerful tools in here that I'm just learning, but nonetheless, it's pretty cool. So there you go. We'll talk more about it every day as I learn more about it. So, and how to use it for those of you that are watching us on the YouTube, which there's probably like 2 of you now. All right, let's get some news real quick, because we are way behind. See, first day scheduled, wanted to have a great show. No, I don't. Yeah, I was cursed. Breaking news as we came on, Pfizer agrees to lower prescription drug costs for Medicaid in a deal with President Trump. In Washington, D.C., drug maker Pfizer has agreed to lower drug costs under a new deal struck with the president. The president announced on Tuesday he promised similar deals with other drug makers in the face of a tariff. So Pfizer is the first to step up to the plate, And we're going to see where the rest goes. They're going to charge better prices to our people that are on Medicaid and Medicare. And there will be a website launched soon. I'm not sure what the website is called, but I was told it was going to be like Trump RX. Why did we name Obamacare after a president? Now we have Trump RX. Why don't they just call it Government RX? Why do they have to put their name on it? They get their head is so bloated, all those politicians. Just all right, that's me. Sorry. New Jersey base, there was a lockdown, but they've now declared an all clear. That was breaking as we came live over an hour ago. New Jersey base was on lockdown amid concerns of an active shooter, but however, later it was found to be unfounded. The joint base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst, which is in Burlington, New Jersey, 20 miles from Trenton, it's all clear. So everything is good. You don't need to take cover. So they're still investigating what the actual cause for concern was. They probably know by now, but I don't know. So, and in the University of Delaware, well, at breaking at news time, I was going to have more on this, but there was a evacuation by police over a safety concern, and there was no updates on that I have, but apparently they want to say, if you see something, say something, and they've evacuated, and the campus is on full alert. So I'm sure there's some more information that's come out since then. And this story was breaking before the president went to Quantico. He has since gone, gave his speech, and come back. This comes to us from our friends at Reuters. But I wanted to highlight this because this is one of the things I dislike about our president. He says he's going to fire them if he doesn't like them. When he went to meet with them, I'm going to be meeting with generals and admirals and with leaders. And if I don't like somebody, I'm going to fire them right on the spot, President Trump said. So he was due to speak at the gathering of military leaders later in the day. He's already done so. I don't know in what context it was because it doesn't give you the whole speech or the whole. I'm sure he was doing a presser as he was walking out to Marine One. We shouldn't make comments like that. That's once again, that's the behind the scenes. We don't need to know. If he's going to fire him, let it do him, but don't. Yeah. Let your head decrease in size some, you arrogant ass. All right. So the speech today, according to Daily Wire, Pete Hegseth, we are done with that shit. They demand excellence from military brass. So he looked into the eyes of hundreds of his top military leaders and shared his new directives for the War Department, including the news that every military branch will ensure that requirements for combat positions return to the highest male standard. This job is life or death, he emphasized. Standards must be met. It's common sense and core to who we are and what we do. I don't think they should have used the word male. I think they should have just said the highest standard. Set the bar, everyone attains it. So, the Secretary of War addressed a room filled with U.S. military leaders from around the world. His speech lasted for around 45 minutes, and legacy media had been going on and on about the unprecedented gathering. His remarks came shortly before the president arrived at the heavily guarded Marine Corps base. If we'd been running on time, I was going to cover all that, but man, we weren't. So there's strong support of the War Department changes. Both men conveyed a similar message assembled to military brass. The Department of War's mission is combat, preparing for war and preparing to win. That's correct. We're not in defense. We are the aggressor. We must be strong that no nation will dare challenge us, so powerful that no enemy will dare threaten us, and so capable that no adversary can even think about beating us, President Trump said today. Secretary of War was very clear as he spoke to the assembled military brass, striding up and down the stage in front of a massive American flag standing behind the podium, rather than standing behind the podium. The Daily Wire observed many of U.S. military leaders taking notes during their remarks, President Trump and Secretary of War Hegseth. No longer will the War Department tolerate ideological standards or quotas or punish leaders for supposed, quote, toxic attitude. Hegseth said. No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses, nor will it tolerate leadership that is aligned with the War Department's mission. That is not aligned with the War Department's mission, he noted, pointing out to those presented that he had fired some military leaders. The ideology and lowered standards implemented during the previous administrations are over, both the Secretary of War and President said. We are done with that shit. Now we're back, promised Trump. That's it. We're going to have any of that crap happen again, I can tell you. According to the president, Hegseth repeatedly mentioned his concerns about lowered standards in the U.S. military, particularly when it comes to fitness and grooming, sharing that at his direction on Tuesday, every member of the Joint Force at every rank will be required to take a biannual PT test and to meet height and weight requirements for every year of service. He went so far as to call out leadership themselves on this issue. It's unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading all around the world. It's a bad look. It's not who we are. The best way to take care of troops is to give them good leaders committed to the warfighting culture of the department, he argued. Not perfect leaders, but good leaders, competent, qualified, professional, agile, aggressive, innovative, risk-taking, apolitical, amen, faithful to their oath and the Constitution. He specifically noted that the physical fitness changes that are being made in order to... All right, I'm going to read this again because this is important. He specifically noted that the fitness changes are not being made in order to weed out women of the armed forces. If women can make it, excellent. If not, it is what it is. It will also mean that weak men won't qualify because we're not playing games. This is combat. This is life or death. The war secretary told the military brass, if the words I'm saying today are making your heart sink, then you should do the honorable thing and resign. But he suggested that many of them might be very enthused, very excited about the changes, eager to steer the Department of War back towards its original mission. Both Trump and Hegseth were empathetic in their praise of the United States military, their hopes for the future. Trump told the gathered U.S. military leaders that the United States has the greatest and most elite fighting force in the history of the world, and he repeatedly touted the prowess and prestige of the military brass before him. In this effort, we're a team, and so my message to you today is simple. I am with you. I support you as president. I have your backs 100%, the president said. You will never see me waver a little bit. We are going to make our military stronger, tougher, faster, fiercer, and more powerful than it has ever been before. There could be no higher honor than to serve as your commander-in-chief, Trump promised. To each and every one of you, I thank you for your unwavering devotion to the armed forces and the country we have a sworn sacred oath to defend. He also said during his speech, I don't think it's going to be in any of these, but we're going to bring back battleships. I wasn't aware that we had gotten away from battleships. Apparently, the U.S. Navy has gotten away from battleships. Chris says, greatest war gathering of all times. Nobody has ever seen war discussion and planning on a level like this. Well, for what they showed the public, I think it was a lot of pomp and circumstance. And unfortunately, I think our president likes to have his head swole up and him be the center of the stage. But at a gathering like this is like gathering. I can relate it to gathering in public safety. When you get all the officers from the stations and stuff, and the fire chief comes up there, you don't applaud and clap and give chant. No, you sit there and you listen to what your commander says. Those are your orders. When Trump entered the room, he was shocked that nobody stood up, nobody applauded, nobody did anything. He said it was the silentest room he'd ever went in. That's because you need to learn the military code. So as commander-in-chief, he has to learn that. President Trump attempted to raise morale this week as he addressed the Department of War in Quantico. In true Trump fashion, President bounced around from topics like tariffs, the military ongoing. Yeah, this shouldn't have been a, what's the correct word? You're not being reelected, and you're not being reelected by these people. So it shouldn't have been a speech like that. He's the commander-in-chief, so stay on focus. And I also didn't like the fact, and this is my personal opinion, you don't have to like it, but he trashed previous administrations and what they did to the military. The problem with that is the military leaders are given a task, just as if our fire chief gives us a task. You're supposed to follow the lead of your superior, like it or not. And this is one of the problems I have with people calling names of police officers and agents and federal officers. They're given a job. If they don't want the job, they can resign and move on. Great. No hard feelings. But they're given a job, they're given orders, and they have to do it whether it's a liked job or not. And that's the same with the military. So if they were given previous administrations leadership, they had to go with it. Like I just said, we stopped at some point in time making battleships. I can't imagine there's a Navy admiral that supported that anywhere. But apparently it happened. They had to. The leader said so. So, sorry. I don't like the fact that he said the highest male standards. I think we just should say the highest standards. Set one bar and let it be equal for everyone. And this wasn't a campaign speech either. So, and see, this is right here. One of the quotes from our commander-in-chief. They did not treat you with respect. They're Democrats. They never do, President Trump accused. Okay, but I'm going to guess that a percentage of the people in that audience were Democrats, but they still followed the lead of the commander-in-chief. So, and him going on about this in the auto pen and Hunter about, no, we're past that. Move on. Let's do better. So that should be the lesson from this. What they showed the public was a bunch of pomp and circumstance in these meetings. What went on behind closed doors before the cameras were on and things like that, I hope was much better than what they showed to the world, because to the world, it looked like nothing more than a yay, good job. Yeah, that's not what the military's purpose is. Their purpose is they're given a task. They go complete the task. And this was one thing that he suggested in this. This comes from KTSM. Trump suggests using dangerous U.S. cities as training grounds for the military. No, and no. Sorry. No, and no. President Trump on Tuesday told a gathering of military leaders they should use American cities as training grounds and describe federal crackdowns on crimes as a war within. I'm not going to argue that there could be a war within, but that's not where we train our military. Trump addressed dozens of top generals and admirals in Quantico. Defending the homeland was the military's most important priority. Signals the leaders in the room could be tasked with aiding in federal interventions in democratic, see, there we go, we're putting politics in there, led cities like Chicago and New York City. They're very unsafe, and we're going to go straighten them out one by one, President Trump said. This is going to be a major part. This is going to be a major part for some of the people in this room. That's a war too. It's a war from within. Can't argue that, but the military's role is not inside the lower 48. Well, I shouldn't say lower 48. Inside the United States. President Trump says, I told SecDef Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our militaries, National Guards, but our military, because we're going into Chicago very soon, President Trump stated. That is a big city with an incompetent governor. Politics. Once again, politics. The White House has already directed the deployment of National Guard troops across D.C., Memphis, Tennessee, which we really have been underreporting on as part of the efforts to quell crime in these cities. He soon announced that he would be sending troops to Portland, Oregon. Trump for weeks has threatened to deploy the National Guard in Chicago, New York, and New Orleans, despite state and local officials pushing back and saying such a move would inflame tensions. Once again, we have Democrat leaders have likened Trump's use of the military in American cities as an authoritarian tactic. I can't say that I totally disagree with that. America is under invasion from within. We're under invasion from within, Trump said. He repeated that. No different than a foreign enemy, but more difficult in many ways because they don't wear uniforms. Well, we learned that back during the Vietnam and Korea War. So I think we should support the public safety people. I don't think we need to go rushing in and have troops, boots on the ground. Now, are they defending federal property? Absolutely. I don't have a problem with that. That's right. Chris says, past is done. A good leader has to let it go and provide hope and positivity. Agreed. Just, you're not campaigning. You cannot run for president again. Now, if J.D. Vance was giving a speech, I'd give him a little more leadway, but even then, this was the wrong room. Read the room. Know the room. So President Trump today met with congressional leaders. He has met with a bunch of people today in hopes of avoiding a government shutdown. Anti-ICE protests in Portland take a riotous turn, and an audit in Maryland turns up some disturbing findings. All right, so this is the news you need to know, apparently. I need to follow this, so I don't want to listen to it. All right, so the White House buzzed Monday as President Trump sought deals at home and abroad. He hosted the Israel President Benjamin Netanyahu, that guy, and congressional leaders as he pushed simultaneously to end the war and avert a government shutdown. At midnight tonight, fiscal year comes to an end, and as of now, the budget has not been passed by Congress. If leaders can't reach an agreement in the next 24 hours, a shutdown will commence, with large swaths of the federal government closing their doors and only essential services remaining open. Republicans has proposed a continuing resolution, a temporary stopgap, to keep the lights on while they finalize the budget. And the House passed the measure 217 to 212 earlier this month, but it has stalled in the Senate. While Republicans have a slim majority, the Senate filibuster requires them to win over at least 7 Democrats, and apparently they're not budging. What the Republicans want, they want to pass a clean bill to keep funding levels and the same across the board and worry about policy debates later. Their measures should maintain federal spending levels set under previous administration while offering some additional funding for personal security for lawmakers, judges, and other federal officers. Officials. What Democrats want, they say they will only pass if it includes billions of dollars of new funding for Obamacare subsidies and Medicaid, some of which were cut under Trump's big, beautiful bill. They also want the deal to include measures that would prevent the White House from blocking congressionally appropriated funds. Democrats know that Republicans are unlikely to give up on those demands and are daring them to allow a shutdown. Government shutdown can feel like a boy who cried wolf scenario, as the two sides often reach a last-minute deal, but there's a real chance a shutdown happens this time. Remember when Democrats ultimately failed to stop Trump's big, beautiful bill during the summer? The party's far-left base was furious, and they haven't let him live it down yet. They're facing pressure to push back this time. Well, we'll see what happens. My grandmother worked in Washington, D.C. for many years, and we've seen this happen. I've been told of this happening way back before I was even born. So Jerusalem is watching. The White House on Monday, the two met the prime minister and the president in a joint press conference in which Trump formally released a 20-point ceasefire for a plan to end the war in Gaza. That plan offers concessions. For example, it offered Palestinians the right to remain in Gaza after the war, amnesty for Hamas members who turn in their weapons, and a vague acknowledgement of the potential for the creation of a Palestinian state in the future, assuring certain conditions. They only removed 1 point from the previous proposal, so if you pay attention and read the whole thing. And KG says, Trump's Epstein distraction headlines are getting more outrageous each day. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, now I got somebody sent me a story about release the Amelia Earhart files. Okay. Okay. Is it that big of a deal? So, Des Moines, Iowa, public school superintendent was arrested by ICE last week on multiple charges, including immigration infractions. Dr. Ian Roberts has a standing deportation order from an immigration judge last year, in addition to a 2020 arrest for a firearms charge. While ICE attempted to pull Roberts over, he drove away. ICE said he tried to escape. Agents later found his car abandoned in nearby woods, and they found Roberts a distance away. He had $3,000 in cash on him at the time and a switchblade for hunting and a loaded firearm. Legal immigrants are barred from having firearms. The ATF has launched an investigation into how he was able to obtain firearms given his legal status. That in addition to the pressing question as to how he became the superintendent of Des Moines, given his illegal status in the United States. According to the school district, he underwent background checks conducted by a third party. A third party also recorded him to the position. According to his LinkedIn profile, he had held school leadership positions in several other cities, including in D.C. and Maryland, has a track record in the United States since arriving in 1999 under a student visa, which he has long since overstayed. In Maryland, well, they have placed foster children with convicted sex offenders and a murderer. Maryland daughters have I can't pronounce that word. They slaughtered State Social Services Administration for placing foster children with known sex offenders and failing to act on reports of abuse. One state lawmaker is calling the findings abhorrent, it's bad, and demanding someone be fired immediately. Yeah, well, there's a school superintendent that's looking for a job. According to government report, as many as half the cases in Maryland social services faked the verifications that background checks had been done on foster parents, either through incompetence or malfeasance. The shoddy work last year resulted in 10 children living with 7 different registered sex offenders, adults, in foster homes. In 2023, a branch of the Maryland's Department of Human Services reviewed a group foster home, but failed to note that it was employing a man convicted of sexually assaulting a minor. 3 months later, the man transported 3 children in his care to abuse them, according to prosecutors. In another case, the government was paying a convicted murderer to offer one-on-one care to foster children in hotel rooms at a rate of $1,300 per night per child. The department funded this placement instead of utilizing foster homes that offered safer and more cost-effective care. This wasn't the first time many of these issues have been raised, and still the agency has made no effort to change after the registered sex offenders have allegedly abused children in their care. Social Services Administration could not document any corrective actions as a result of this incident to ensure the criminal backgrounds were in fact obtained. Basically, they didn't want to do the work and they didn't want to look at the data, and so they just went out there and put the children there. Auditors said that the agency has made numerous excuses that appeared to be false. There are 17,000 allegations of abuse or neglect in the foster system, and county agencies are required to investigate that immediately. If they don't, the state agency is required to, by law, to report it to the legislator. Neither one occurred. State made excuses and delayed for months, citing a natural disaster, even though no one could say what natural disaster occurred in what part of Maryland in 2024. I trusted them with their kids. All right, we'll move on. Pam Bondi orders a crackdown on ICE protesters. That's not a shocking headline. Attorney General Pam Bondi issued a memorandum on Monday directing several law enforcement agencies to send agents to crack down on protests outside U.S. immigrations and customs enforcement facilities across the country. DOJ is employing agents to protect ICE facilities, arrest violent agitators on the spot, and bring the strongest federal charges possible. Bondi wrote in a post on X Monday, alongside a memo she issued to components of the department. The rule of law will prevail. So, one little known reported incident, apparently there was an organized attack on a facility in Texas with 12 people participating in the organized attack, one being a military Marine reservist. Think about that. So, all right, so they're going to be cracking down on that and see if they're protecting federal property and protecting federal land, then the military should assist law enforcement. The LA governor, LA's governor, LA doesn't have a governor. Louisiana governor has requested National Guard deployment to major cities. Governor Jeff Landry has asked for up to 1,000 troops through fiscal year 2026 in a letter sent to War Secretary Pete Hegseth, citing crime rates in key cities. New Orleans, Louisiana governor had asked for the deployment in New Orleans and other cities, saying the state needs help fighting crime, and praised President Trump's decision to send troops to Washington and Memphis. He's asked for 1,000 troops through fiscal year 2026, and it comes weeks after he has suggested, being the president, New Orleans could be one of the next targets, deploying National Guard to fight crime. And Trump plans to send troops. Troops also have been sent to Los Angeles in recent months, but he's planning similar actions in Chicago, Portland, and Oregon. So there you go. That is at the request, just as was in Tennessee, of the governor. Nothing illegal about that. So 4 charged after anti-ICE protests outside a Chicago facility erupts in violence. Federal charges have been filed over 4 individuals involved in anti-ICE protests in Chicago this weekend, according to court documents obtained by ABC. 4 defendants are being charged with assaulting and resisting officers outside the Broadview ICE facility during the multi-day protest on Saturday. Paul Ivory, one of the individuals charged, allegedly showed his middle finger to federal agents at the protest, saying, "I'll effing kill you right now," jumping on a car, causing damage to the vehicle, and fighting with Homeland Security agent, according to court documents. And see, that should not be tolerated. That is criminal activity. We need to put a smackdown on that. You don't allow that. If one person does it, then 2 people will do it. Then when 2 people do it, 3 people do it, and it just grows. So, a news conference Monday afternoon, Illinois Governor Pritzker said federal officers used tear gas, pepper spray, and rubber bullets and a flashbang device on protesters, journalists, and bystanders in Broadview. The Trump administration is attempting to destabilize Chicago, he stated. I think Chicago may already be destabilized. What do you think, Chris? Yesterday, this broke as we were going off the air. Secret Service arrests a man attempting to scale the White House fence. It looks nice, dressed nicely at least. U.S. Secret Service on Monday arrested a man allegedly attempting to scale the White House fence while President Trump was inside. He was seen wearing a blazer and blue-tinted sunglasses as authorities escorted him away in handcuffs. And if you remember, it was my buddy that got the actual picture. So, Secret Service spokesperson said the man was arrested by agents for unlawful entry as he scaled the fence on the southeast side of the U.S. Treasury building and was arrested by Uniform Division Secret Service. He was subsequently transported to the Metropolitan Police Department's 2nd District for processing. There's no impact to our operations, according to the U.S. Secret Service. It remains unknown if the man posed any threat to the president or intended to harm the visitor, Benjamin Netanyahu. The last serious breach of the White House occurred during the Biden administration in 2023 when a 19-year-old crashed a U-Haul truck into a security fence. A Nazi flag, I just hate hearing and seeing that word, was recovered from the vehicle, and he later told investigators that he intended to kill then the president of the United States. Well, all right, YouTube, don't flag me. I'm reading a news article from Breitbart. In 2014, during the Obama administration, a war veteran came in with a little small pocket knife, jumped the fence, and penetrated the executive mansions before agents could subdue him. Gardy reported at that time the intrusion was a massive breach of security and it led to several reforms. During that administration, We just let our guard down then, didn't we? Witnesses have told the House Oversight Committee that he overpowered a person at the front door, an officer, and was not stopped until he reached a separate room at the back of the White House. After running past a stairway leading to the first family's living quarters, apparently he was a former Army sniper. He sprinted an 80-foot length from the East Room and was finally apprehended at the doorway of the Green Room, another formal room overlooking the South Lawn. All right. There's always bad people out there trying to do bad things. All right. I have an issue with this story because, well, this is how I survived for several months by myself in Tennessee. Too corny. Officials recall popular food items sold at Walmart after concerns of wood in the batter. The recall comes just days after another frozen food scare. Nearly 60 million pounds of a frozen snack are being urgently recalled after several people were hurt. The health warning issued over the weekend said pieces of wood were found in the batter, sparking fears for consumers across the U.S. I bought this. This was in my freezer that I survived on the 2 months alone in Tennessee. State Fair Classic Corn Dogs with Honey. The Food and Safety Administration, Food and Safety and Inspection Service confirmed the affected products were distributed, including Walmart and other retailers. 5 injuries have been reported so far, though the extent of the harm has not been revealed. Officials are urging people not to eat the items and contact a doctor if they suspect they've been injured. The recall covers corn dogs, check. Sausage on a stick, check. I had both those. Jimmy Dean pancakes and sausage on a stick, check. That was my breakfast and my lunch. It covers corn dogs and sausages on a stick made between March 17th and 26th. The product carries a code that you should be able to look up on the website and see if you have tainted meat on a stick. So I lived on that for months. I don't understand. All right, we're going to jump ahead. Florida family shocked to find they can't renew their Toyota Tacoma registration because a stranger registered it in Boston. Well, not Boston, up in New England. So apparently somebody was doing the routine paperwork, and when they went in, they found out they couldn't renew the vehicle in their car tag because, well, it had already been done up in New England. So apparently this is a scam that is going on here recently, and this is one of the first to be caught. But if you remember back, gosh, I don't know, was it 2 years ago, where if you lived in Florida, they either you had to have Florida tags or you had to have the tag in which you resided. They made that legislation. Well, apparently now the scam is they're taking advantage of that, and they can register your car out of state. I'm not sure what the purpose would be. Otherwise, maybe they would have the tag on a similar vehicle and commit crimes, and you could possibly be in trouble. So pay attention when it's time to renew your vehicle tags. I'm not going to have time to go over this, but America's funniest sheriff, we know him as Sheriff Judd of Polk County. Well, he got into it with apparently somebody, and it was a hilarious moment. You can go catch it. The postseason is here in the MLB. I don't see any of my teams listed, but obviously there is the lineup. You have Detroit and Chicago. No, is it Chicago, Cincinnati, Boston, and the Yankees, the Mariners and the Blue Jays, the Mets, the Cubs. Way to go, Chris. San Diego, the Dodgers, and Cincinnati. So that must be the other Chicago team, and the Phillies. Well, I guess I will be probably cheering for either the Dodgers or the Cubs. I don't think I can stand maybe the Blue Jays. Maybe. So there you go. If you're interested, the Major League Baseball playoffs are upon us. So apparently the governor of Florida has cleared deed on a land for a presidential library for President Trump. So I don't really have time to go over that story, but there you go. And this was sent in by an alert fan. Maryland firefighters charged after they deliberately flooded a baseball field. 2 Montgomery County firefighters, I wonder if Andy was involved, are charged with disorderly conduct after spraying engine water onto the field. Apparently they wanted to just get their attention, it says, but they flooded the field. No, I can't say that similar things haven't been done. And apparently, if you want to find the Colonel Sanders KFC chicken recipe, well, a family member is at odds with Colonel Sanders' family drama and has decided to go on TikTok and go scorched earth on his uncle's pride and joy. And you can find it on X and on the Talk if you want to find the secret recipe. There you go. Why does this thing keep giving me these pop-ups? This happened just a bit ago. Civilians catch an alligator near McDonald's outside of a Macon, Georgia McDonald's. The civilians trapped it and subdued the animal, and was taken away by a private tracker, but apparently it liked McDonald's. It was McLovin' it. So I don't know if there's any McGator. So we did kind of, well, depending on which part of the show you were listening to, we talked about the interstellar visitor called 3i Atlas and the possibility that it could be alien or extraterrestrial. And we're not going to have time for this, but there's a story that seems to be going around out of Gloucester, Rhode Island, for apparently a goat that is wanted on criminal trespass charges. And animal control officers did rescue a dog stuck in a tree in Indiana. I'm not sure how the dog, it was a husky, apparently chased a squirrel up a tree and became stranded, and therefore they don't call the fire department for this notice. They called the police. And for our other friends, wallaby was spotted wandering loose in Berlin and is still on the lam. If you happen to see a wallaby in Berlin, well, call the local authorities because it's wanted by the 5-0. All right, let's get into this. And gosh, we're going to have to go. What the heck button did I push there? We're going to have to go quickly on this because somebody screwed up or something happened. So our daily briefing from FEMA, Tuesday, September 30th, as presented to the president at 8:30 a.m. There are no significant or ongoing operations. They are monitoring rain and thunderstorms in the Pacific Northwest and the Southeast. We have 2 hurricanes in the Atlantic, Humberto and Imelda. And in the Pacific, we have, 2 disturbances, one that could become a hurricane later today. Hurricane Imelda, she's 180 miles, or she was 180 miles northeast of Grand Abuco Island, moving northeast at 7 miles an hour, and the hurricane force winds of 75 miles an hour, of 75 miles per hour extend outward 70 miles. So you can feel tropical storm force winds as far as 185 miles from the center. She is off the shore and not causing any threat. We'll look at this here in just a moment because I'm sure it's updated. And let's see. We'll jump over to the president's schedule. Well, we've talked about most of it. Up at 5:15 in the morning and ready to go. 7:30 was the call time for the in pool. The out of town was at 5:15. 8:10 a.m. the president departed the White House en route to Quantico. Apparently he was 9 minutes behind. It was actually 8:39. He arrived at 8:57 in Quantico. He gave his remarks at 9 to the Department of War. And then at 10:40, he arrived back at the White House. 11 a.m., he delivered an announcement, which we now know was the drug problems, Trump RX. And today at 3 o'clock, 38 minutes ago, he was signing some executive orders. I do not know what the executive orders were. I didn't look that far ahead because, let's see if the AP tells us. And live updates from the AP. Let's see. Representative David Schwerskert joins Trump-backed candidates in GOP primary for Arizona governor. I don't even want to talk about the primary for the Georgia governor. Go research it. It's fun. You'll enjoy it. We'll have to learn to speak a new language if she's elected governor, which, by the way, I don't know how she could run for office being that she's not an American, but we'll leave it at that. Mike Johnson at 2:13 displayed a video criticizing Democrats for past shutdowns. 2:06 asked AP reporters about the shutdown. Apparently they sent out a memo. 1:53 Chicago police say federal agents are creating a safety crisis. What? 1:47, the Trump judge finds Trump administration unconstitutionally targeted non-citizens over the Gaza war protests. I'm just scanning through the highlights here. I don't see where the announcement was at 3. So, National Flood Insurance Program set to expire Tuesday, halting new policies on sub loans. And I don't see what the executive orders are on this. Let me refresh this because this weather has probably changed from where we started this morning. All right. Forecast weather. We'll just jump through this real quick for today, September 30th. From the Chesapeake Bay region down through the Keys and back over in the Gulf to Louisiana, spotty showers as the two storms are off the coast of Florida, moving to the northeast, well away from us. Now, if we jump over to the west in Seattle, up in that area in Washington, well, there's a chance of some wintry mix that extends into Idaho and Colorado, Utah, Nevada, and parts of California. Probably the higher elevations. Tomorrow, well, the East Coast is going to dry up, even up in New England. In the Midwest, in the Dakotas, you can see some spotty showers extending down into almost Texas. Over in the West, well, the higher elevations in Washington, Idaho, Montana, Oregon, California, and Nevada could see some of that wintry mix. So pay attention there. And let's see here. For a news segment, for our audience, since we are international, this comes from the Australian Government Bureau of Meteorology. In Sydney, well, currently it's 19.5 Celsius. That's your high. That's your low, because today is going to be a high of 27. Melbourne, well, it's 11 right now Celsius. You're just above your low. It's going to get to 18. You're going to have some showers today. Brisbane, it's 21. You're going to approach your high of 30. It's partly cloudy today. And in Perth, it's almost 13. You're getting warmer, but you're only going to get to 22 Celsius today. Adelaide, well, you're at 13. And you're only going to get to 18 Celsius today. Your showers will be increasing. In Hobart, you're currently at 8. That is your low, but you're going to make it up to 18 today with some increasing showers. Canberra is 9. You're going to get to 17 Celsius. It's going to be windy, but mostly sunny. Darwin, well, you're currently right at 25. That's your low. You're going to make it up to 34 today, but it is going to be sunny. So that comes from the Australian Bureau of Meteorology. It's probably a little more updated since I made this earlier, but it's pretty close. Remember, I am not a meteorologist. I'm just a bloated bag of air that talks. This comes to us from the Weather Channel. NATOcast percentages for tornadic activity in the U.S. today, pretty low, almost 0. And as far as winds, it's going to be a fairly wind-free day in the lower 48. And the chance of hail is, well, pretty much non-existent today in the lower 48. The precipitation that is anticipated in the United States today, with the most the worst trouble, appears to be out on the West Coast, along the Bayside and along the ocean side in Washington. It extends all the way down to Northern California. The worst rainfall will be in Washington State. We jump down to the East Coast and we see some spotty showers from Appalachia back over through the Carolinas to the coast, but the worst is going to be in Florida, right along the coastline. Some potential for some heavy rain today. And so if you're in those areas, probably a bad beach day. Close this one. We look at the National Hurricane Center talking about the two storms, and we see that, well, they're well offshore and moving to the northeast, with Imelda being the closest. She's right at about the Savannah, Georgia area right now. And let's see, let's get an up-to-date picture of the Atlantic and see what it looks like. And we see that, yeah, she is sitting right there off the coastline, kind of spinning along, but she is moving to the northeast relatively slow. Down in the Gulf, well, that disturbance down there is really just, good Lord, not formed and not doing much, but we're keeping an eye on it. And we'll zoom out in the big, beautiful globe here and look, and we see the storm off in the Atlantic. That's causing winds to be relatively high along the Floridian coast and the Georgia coast. But it is going to continue moving to the northeast, well away. But the clouds are going to extend all the way back to the Ohio Valley, almost the Midwest, from the storms. And there is a front coming down. We can't really see it here, but it is moving here, coming in from the far west up in Canada, and it will be moving eastward. How far down it's going to get into the United States as far as cool air is yet to be determined. Let's look real quick at warnings, weather warnings, courtesy of Weather Warn. We see, well, there we go, our test message in Maryland. We have all the known and associated beach hazards due to the storms and small craft advisories, and it doesn't appear that there's currently any significant severe weather in the lower 48. Let's see, flooding in North Carolina. All right, whoa, I'm making myself dizzy. Look at this real quick. This is our weather watch and warning page, courtesy of GMA. Zoom out. And we see the hurricane Imelda and Humberto moving off to the east in the northeast. The only problem is causing from the New England area down to, well, pretty much Savannah area, some rip currents and high tide problems. Actually, the rip currents are going to go all the way down to Miami. I don't see any other, aside for the small craft advisories up on the Great Lakes. And we have some freeze and frost warnings up in New England. It looks as though the cool weather is approaching up there in Vermont, New Hampshire, Mass, Maine, up in that area there. You got some frost and freeze warnings. We skip over, there's this pretty good sized cell in Salt Lake City currently, but there's no watches, warnings issued on that one. And we look over here to the west and we see this storm that is coming in from the Canadian side. It's unknown how far because it's not moving northeast, it's moving more east, so it's kind of skirting across the top of the lower 48 there. But we see off the coast wind warnings and advisories, gale warnings actually, and they do have an air quality alert. I'm assuming that's from one of the fires out there. High wind advisories are extending from, well, down all the way from Oregon into Nevada and parts of Texas. There are some air quality advisories around Dallas and in San Antonio and Houston. We'll check on that here in just a moment and see if it is smoke from fires. And up in the northeast, well, the gale and rip warnings, frost advisories for most of New Hampshire down into, almost all the way down into New York State. So there you go. Freeze watches back in Albany, back to the west of there, back over towards the Great Lakes in New York. Denise, is it cold where you are? All right, we look at worldwide warnings, watches, and events, and we see, of course, the hurricane right there. It's tropical cyclone Imelda. It's moving to the northeast. We have up here, let's see, gale force winds just north of northwest of Ireland. So is that Ireland? It's Ireland, right? Or is that London? No, it's Germany. Ha! Learn where you're at there, Glenn. Let's see. Let's hop down here and see if there's anything else. Australia, let's see what kind of warnings and watches you have. And down around Hobart, well, you have a flood watch. You have wind warnings pretty much all along the south and east coast of the continent, and maybe over a little bit on the west coast. There is a high wind advisory for coastal waters between the Cape and it's just basically around the Cape. So check with the Bureau of Meteorology to get the most recent updated information. And let's see here. I wanted to spend more time on this. See, I didn't want to be rushed today. I wanted to have everything nice and smooth. But I digress. All right. Let's see. Lightning maps. Let's look at the lightning conditions in the lower 48 and see what we got. The only thing I saw earlier was in Salt Lake City. And it looks as though that's still ringing pretty true with the cells. That cell coming down through, well, it's Wyoming, and it's coming all the way down through Salt Lake, extending back into Nevada. So that little cell's got a little bit of power to it. Go away. I don't know why I'm getting all these pop-ups all of a sudden. So, all right. Let's see. Look and see if there's any power outages in the lower 48. And there doesn't appear to be anything significant. California has the highest with 562 people, 8,562 people without power. North Carolina, 4,883. Texas, 4,144. Ohio, you're following right in there at 3,669, with Florida at 2,458 for people without power. And we look at current temperatures right now, and we just discussed it. Let's start with our friends down in the Keys. It's in the 80s. Tampa, you're 82. Jacksonville, 80. Washington, D.C., you are currently around 75. Today, you're going to be partly cloudy with it. And you've already got to your high. Up in Boston, I'm sorry, we'll jump ahead a little too much there. Up in New York City, well, it's going to be cloudy, and your high today is going to be 80. Boston, well, pretty much the same for you, but you're not going to make it to 80. You're only going to be about 73. Back over towards Vermont, we go to Burlington, and your high today is 67, sunny skies. Chicago, Illinois, where are you at? You are currently 77. You're going to have a high of 81, sunny skies today. We jump down into Louisville, Kentucky, and high of 84. And today it's going to be sunny. Knoxville, well, you're going to be in the 80s and partly sunny, partly cloudy skies. Atlanta, currently at 75, and it's going to be, well, we've already hit our high at 76 for today. Right now, the hottest spot on the map is Phoenix. And if we look down in Texas at Houston, well, it's going to be 90 today, but sunny skies. Phoenix, 91 currently is your high. Nope. You're going to have a high of 93, so that's going to be the hot spot today. Portland, 69 is your high, and rainy. So Seattle, we've already talked about. Well, you got a high of 68 and cloudy. The higher elevations is where most of the snow will be. Yakima, you've got a high today of 68 degrees. So go over to Denver and see. Denver was going to be seeing some precipitation. Is it going to be snow? No, not in Denver. It's going to be a high of 77. So it's going to be the higher elevations. Salt Lake, well, partly cloudy, rainy skies, high of 66. Salt Lake, did I say Salt Lake? Salt Lake, high of 66. I meant to go over to Grand Junction. There we go. Grand Junction, your high today is 76 with partly sunny skies. Where's the snow going to be in these higher elevations there? Okay. All right, let's move on because we got a lot of things to talk about. The heat risk, well, the hottest place today in the country is going to be up in the Dakotas, down in Texas, and parts of Illinois for a code orange today. So be weather aware, know the temperatures, and hydrate and stay indoors as much as possible. We look at this map, and this really is just a current map of the clouds right now, and we look at the hurricanes there, and they're bringing clouds inland almost to the Midwest, pretty much all of Florida, Georgia, part of Alabama, most of the northeast is going to be experiencing cloudy skies from the hurricanes. And the most precipitation today, well, we talked about in the lower 48. It looks like it's going to be right around Salt Lake City, and well, some of that is going to be also of the cold type. So be prepared in the higher elevations. And outside of Washington, D.C., down into Southwest Virginia, Richmond, and along the coastlines from Myrtle Beach to Savannah are anticipating some precipitation today. There's our big, beautiful globe. See, I wanted to not be rushed today. I wanted to be able to enjoy the big, beautiful, round globe. But there you go. If you're not watching us on YouTube, what you're looking at is the AI rendition of the globe in 3D and the actual winds that are moving. So it's quite peaceful, calm, and relaxing if you're not rushed. And look at the air quality. Well, much of the Midwest is going to be experiencing some code yellow conditions just north of where the hurricane is, skirting up along Chesapeake Bay up into the New York area, almost to Boston. There's some code yellow areas as well. And I'm going to assume that all the code yellow out in the west is due to the fires. Let's look at where the fires are. And let's refresh this to make sure I got the most recent information. And no fires on the east side of the Mississippi. There's a fire reported down in Texas. And then we have the fires burning in Oregon and Washington and Idaho back into Montana, basically the Rocky Mountains. Let's see what the smoke map looks like. Oh, I forgot the hazard mapping. Well, today, Texas, Louisiana, all the way up through the Midwest, Arkansas and Illinois. Is that Illinois? No, it's not Illinois. Alabama, high chance of fire into Montana, Idaho, Washington. You see, those are the highest percentages of fires in the past 24 hours. That includes all fires, by the way. I did a little bit of homework on this. That includes wildfires and structure fires too. So those are the states where the most fires were reported in the last 24 hours. And looking at the smoke, well, the hurricanes off the East Coast is pushing all the smoke up to the Northeast, but the fires in Canada is what causes most of the air problems for the central United States, all the way down into the peninsula with Mexico and back over to the to the west with Seattle. The smoke from the Canadian fires is pushed that far down, but the hurricanes are pushing it inland on the other side of the Appalachia. So we're going to break today in Atlanta. And we see the hurricanes there off of the East Coast spinning. We don't see a whole lot of dust coming off of Africa, so that area is still warm, and hopefully nothing will form. But most of the air quality issues are coming from the fires in Canada and out of the Gulf with the fire down in Texas. I'm sorry, is that Texas? No, it's Dothan. There's a fire in Dothan that's putting off a lot of smoke. And there's still little traces of dust coming across, kind of skirting underneath the hurricanes, catching up and being tracked into the Gulf of America. And then, of course, the hurricanes are pushing that all to the southwest. And there is currently no tsunami watches or warnings. There was a strong earthquake earlier. Let's just jump over to that real quick, since I know that's the big issue. The last 24 hours, the largest. Let's go to the last hour, see if there's any. All right, so Philippines had a large one. There is a Hawaii. There is a earthquake at 15:59, which is 4 hours ago. And what was it? Does it say what it was? 2.0. That was the only one in the United States. We have down in Panama, they had a 4.3 about 2 hours ago. And then off the coast of Morocco, the Canary Islands, they had a 2.6 about 4 hours ago. Let's see what this one in Asia. This is China, 3.1. About 3 hours ago. And we look over here in Turkey, there's a 2.7, a 2.4, Rome, Central Italy, 2.2. So those are the most recent earthquakes. The space weather, well, we don't have time to talk about today, but it's not too high. It is going to be interfering some with the comet. I don't really have time to go over the flu and disease map. And we don't see any really thing big there. Let's look at the air traffic real quick and see if there's anything interesting going on. I'm sure there's going to be a lot coming out of Virginia. Well, yeah, look, it's pretty busy. So, and we have flights. The Royal Air Force, we followed them yesterday. Where did they come out of? They came out of Mexico. So, interesting. The Royal Air Force was down that far. And we have some other flights down there. I wonder what the Royal Air Force was doing down there. Never know. A lot of training in the Gulf of America. And we do have some, well, secret squirrel flights going on around Atlanta. Interesting. All right, it's probably a drone. Lots of helicopter activity. And I'm sure there's all kinds of helicopter activity coming out of Quantico. And trying to see if we had any P8s up. Looking, oh, we do have an E2 that's, well, that's probably the E2, which is an Intel. That one's operated by, Navy. That one's up, well, pretty much at the entrance of the Chesapeake Bay. I figure we know why that was. And let's see, C-17. These are smaller flights coming out of the south, probably all associated with the meeting that transpired earlier today. Let's see if they're doing any fuel. Nope, nothing there. And I don't see any P8s on the West Coast either. So that's good news. Well, it's good news that they're not showing us them at least. And I didn't see any down in the Gulf of America. Let's see. Nope. That's a tanker that's, well, it's flying around doing some routes. So there must be some fighter traffic up. Now that's interesting because this is a Hercules that it pretty much came out of where we would anticipate that meeting took place, and it skirted the entire coast, and it just kind of disappeared down there. So, it went somewhere down here, it dropped off the radar, and it's back up over Central Florida right now. So there you go. That's the tanker, and it's funny. It's circulating right above Tampa right now, but it's somewhere just popped up off of the Atlantic coast. So interesting. All right. What's that? That's probably a trainer. No. Nope. That's a... All right. Let's move on because I'm running over in time here. Don't see anything strange as far as NOTAMs, as far as traffic. DC's back to normal. It looks as though down along southern areas, they're clearing that up. It's not as large as it was. And I don't see anything else. What is this here? That one. Don't know what that one is. That's off the coast of, it's right at the Florida-Georgia line there. It's a pretty small area, so that's probably, I'm going to guess, for local government use. So probably drones. Special security over Disney. Okay, so they've issued a NOTAM over Disney. We don't normally see that. Interesting. All right, so they put a notice to all airmen, no flying around Disney. And, of course, that's down off of Mar-a-Lago. And skirt up to the east. What's this one here? Well, this is off of the Maryland, Pennsylvania coast or coast border. And they don't have it listed, but there's a no-fly zone there as well. Going up towards New York City, I don't see anything else that looks unusual. I'm up here. And there's another one right there off of the coast of Maine. I don't know. That one's kind of unusual. All right. I wanted to have time to show you guys this. Denise says a cold front is coming to New York. Yeah. See, I wanted to be able to integrate all of my nice, cool maps. And this is, we talk about the planes overhead. Wow. Let's look at the satellites overhead. Look at all those satellites over the world right now. Specifically, look at them all over the United States. So many satellites. It's hard to believe. All right. This is close. Balloons. Let's see. Oh, wow. Balloons. Wow. I don't think we've seen it this busy. Most, with the exception of maybe Indiana and Michigan, most of the United States, well, maybe up in Maine, it's got some kind of balloon overhead. Is it weather? Is it intel? I don't know, but most of the United States, with the exception of maybe a little bit on the West Coast and those other mentioned areas, there's a balloon overhead. Let's jump down to Australia, and it doesn't look like, well, there's only one down there with you guys, and it's off of your West Coast near Canberra. So I showed this yesterday. This is the marine traffic, and we had the attack in Yemen, and it looks like it's opened back up. The vessel was attacked. Everybody abandoned ship and they had to be rescued by the military. But it looks like it's back open, so it's as normal as it can be. And you get up here into off of the coast of is it Iran? Well, up there, that is another little pinch point where it causes a problem, but it appears to be operating normally. But those are the areas we looked at all of the airplanes over the head. We've looked at the satellites overhead. Now look at all these ships in the ocean. There's so much movement around on this planet that we just don't know about and we take for granted. So, all right, I'm going to get out of here because, well, I've overstayed my welcome by a few minutes. First day didn't go off without a hitch. Hopefully tomorrow will be better. We'll get the kinks worked out. I will be here 2 to 4 Eastern Standard Time. And I believe it's 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. in Perth. So I will be with you every day at those new hours, and we will be talking about what's going on. I was trying to get Bitdefender to load here before I went out so we can see what's going on. KG says we're hitting 43 in DC tomorrow. Time to dig out the jeans for the dog walk. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, we're still in the 80s here in Atlanta. Ken, you need to come south. Come visit us down here. All right. Well, I can't get this thing to show what's going on like I wanted it to. Technology has not been my friend today, so that's not the right button. Everybody, I want you to have a great day. I will be back tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll have all the bugs worked out. I'll fix what it did on YouTube and get that going, and well, we'll be back then. I don't know what the hell that's doing over there, so we'll just let it go. I want to remind everybody, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and after I end the show, on the one that is streaming, leave a comment. I'll fix all the artwork and everything and get it going. So everybody, please leave a comment, thumbs up button, all that good stuff. Have a great day, and I have no idea what the hell that thing's doing. I'm going to get out of here before more technology fails me. Everybody have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. Sportcat, well, I'm getting the hell out of here. We'll talk to you soon. I'm out. Thanks, everybody, to Dare Talk Radio and Radio X for allowing us to tickle your ears and entertain you for a few hours. I'm out of here. Sportcat, we'll see you tomorrow.